Hi there and welcome to my channel, Lifestyle of a DIYer. In today's video, we're going to take some common thrift store items and upcycle them into a summer vignette. So let's get started. In today's video, we're going to make a vignette out of these common thrift store items using Wise Owl chalk synthetic paint in the color Begonia. It's such a pretty color and I thought it would make the perfect summer vignette. We're going to get right into DIY number 1, making the molds for this tray. I always use a little cornstarch in the molds before putting the clay in. It just helps the clay release easier. You can also put them in the freezer for about 15 minutes and the clay will pop right out of the mold. Here I'm using the IOD clay. You only want to take the portion that you're going to use. You just want to take it, warm it up in your hands a little before that makes it easier to work with before you put it in the mold. The clay dries out pretty fast, so I always double bag the clay that I'm not using. I'm using the Victorian Rose mold by Redesign with Prima. The molds are $18, but you can use them with so many things. You can use clay, resin. I've seen other people use hot glue. I've never done that yet. And they're food safe and heat resistant, so you can use them for candy and chocolate. They're just a fun way to add extra creativity to any project that you do. I also like to use the brayer. It just helps get that clay down in all the details of the mold. I'm gonna let the sun shine in today. I'm trying to make this darkness go away. Another nice thing about using the clay is if the design doesn't fit the way you want it, like on these swoops here, they didn't really fit, so I had to cut off the ends, and then I could replace them or put them back so that they fit the tray better. So far, my favorite glue to use for gluing the molds down is Titebond wood glue. And you can see here when I picked up my swoop, it fell apart, but it doesn't matter when you're working with clay. You just glue it down, push it together, and when you paint it, you can't tell. It looks good. Starts to fade, feels like things are gonna go my way. I'm gonna let the sun shine in the day. And here I'm taking my utility knife and I'm just cleaning up the little bits of clay that don't belong with the design. And rolling the clay first really helped fill that swoop. I didn't have any breakage on the next one. You can see here that I didn't need to cut this swoop. I used it right away so it was pliable still and I could just mold it or move it to make it fit the tray. The first one was a little more dry, so that's why I had to cut it. I love the way the tray looks right now with the white flowers against the begonia background. But I had in my head that I wanted the whole thing painted in the begonia and I wanted to white wax it. Well, I wish I could go back, but this is how it turned out. As you can tell, I'm not too happy, but I worked on it a little bit more, and you'll have to wait till the end to see how it turned out. And on to DIY number 2. This time I decided to use dark wax. First, I covered everything in clear wax. And then I applied dark wax on all the pretty detail around this bowl. I went heavier on the detail, and then I went around the whole bowl with the dark wax, and again, hated it. So then I took the clear wax, which is like, you can use it like an eraser, and I got rid of those dark streaks. And I liked the way it turned out. And then I decided that I would just hit some of the little spots on the detail with a metallic. And I actually loved the way it turned out. And on to DIY number 3, and more white wax. But this time I put a really good layer of the clear wax first, and then I went over it with the white wax. I did not let it stay on very long at all, and I wiped most of it off. I really just wanted it in the detail. When you use a chalk paint, you always have to remember to seal it. You can seal it with wax or some kind of a top coat. I used wax, and when I did that, I didn't know that I would be adding a transfer. I've never put a transfer over wax, so I wasn't sure how it would work. I had this IOD transfer. I'm not even sure how you say that name. And transfers can be a little pricey, but you get all these pages of just beautiful things that add so much to a project. And the most difficult part is picking out which flower you want to use or which words you want to add. So you just figure out where you want your design to go, and every package comes with this tool that you use to apply the transfer. You can see here the change on the carrier sheet as the design adheres to your project. And you can see here I did have to do a little touch up. I'm sure it was because the wax hadn't cured before I added the transfer. And on to DIY number 4. I used Rust-Oleum hammered spray paint in the color white to spray paint this little thrift store basket. Baskets should always be spray painted. It's just a much easier way to paint a basket. But I didn't like the way the inside looked, so I used Fusion mineral paint in the color Victorian Lace. Mineral paint has a built-in sealer, so once it was dry, it was ready for a transfer.
People talking, the wind blowing in the trees. Oh, I will open up my eyes so I can see the light. Oh, and I'll try to spread my wings so I can fly. Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way. I'm gonna let the sun shine in the day. I'm gonna let the
I didn't go over this in the previous DIY, but when you have that transfer down, you want to take that carrier sheet and just rub all over the transfer to make sure that it's adhered well to your project.
take this weight off my shoulders.
And on to DIY number 5, and I'm finally going to get my white flowers and begonia background. I mixed equal parts of salt wash to paint, and that pretty much covered the design on this little picture in one coat. I used the same Victorian rose mold, but this time I put the mold on the picture because I wanted it to dry a little bit, take it off, then paint it white before I glued it on. And here's how everything turned out. I used a little more clear wax on this tray to get rid of some of that white wax, and I like it way better. Do you have a favorite of the DIYs that I did today? Are you a fan of white wax? I don't know. I know it has a place, but my favorite is this little picture. I think some of these items in this color begonia would look pretty in some fall decor. Thank you so much for watching and spending some time with me. See you next time.